You don't move to Japan for yourself. That's the part nobody tells you before the plane takes off. You move because the person you love got a job offer in Tokyo and said, "I really want this," with a look that meant the decision was already made, and the conversation you were about to have was just paperwork. You said yes because you love them, because love, in your understanding, is portable. It packs well. It adjusts to new climates. You've watched enough Tokyo reels to believe it. The neon, the trains arriving on the exact second, the vending machines dispensing hot coffee at midnight, like the city itself is trying to keep you awake. You built an entire city in your head from other people's footage and your own projection. And in that version, you are present, purposeful. The relationship gets stronger under the pressure of a shared adventure. You imagined weekend temples, weeknight izakayas, a version of yourselves that ordinary geography had somehow compressed, and this city would finally let expand. What you didn't imagine is standing in Narita at 11 p.m., watching the person you followed here get collected by a company car, while you wait outside with 2 suitcases for a taxi you can't communicate with, heading to an apartment you have never seen and don't know how to describe to a driver who doesn't speak your language. The car comes for them first. Of course it does. They're the reason Japan let you in at all. The apartment is in Shinkoenji, 2 rooms, a kitchen that qualifies as a hallway with ambitions, and a bathroom compact enough that the shower head sits directly above the toilet, in case you want to make a statement about efficiency. Your partner's company found it, paid the key money, arranged the guarantor, handled the paperwork. You moved into a life assembled for someone else, and happened to also live inside it. The first week, your partner goes to orientation, then training, then the office. Earlier each day, you go to the convenience store. You stand in front of the refrigerated food section for 11 minutes because everything is labeled in Japanese, and Google Translate's camera struggles with the angle of a shelf at 9 a.m. when your hands aren't steady. You buy onigiri because you recognize the shape. You eat it standing because there's no table. Furniture delivery is Thursday. Today is Monday. 4 days of eating standing up in a kitchen that isn't yours, in a city that doesn't know you exist. You try to build rhythm. Wake up, make coffee, walk. The walks are long because long means you're doing something. You learn the neighborhood by repetition, the dry cleaner on the corner, the park with the man who feeds pigeons at precisely 8:15, the ramen place with a ticket machine requiring 3 decisions before you've read the options. You eat ramen alone. You become competent at eating alone. That is the first skill Tokyo teaches you, and it will not be the last. Your visa is a dependent visa. In Japanese immigration terms, dependent means you are attached to someone else's legal status, like a footnote to a document written entirely without you. You cannot work on a dependent visa, not legally, not part-time, not for cash. You can volunteer, you can study, you can exist in the city and watch other people have purpose, while yours sits in a drawer next to your passport. You knew this before you came. The plan was 6 months to settle in, learn Japanese, figure out the next step, then apply for a work permit through your partner's company sponsorship. It sounded reasonable over dinner in your old apartment, with 3 months left on the lease and a job you'd already quit. It sounded like a gap year, with geographical benefits. What it actually is, you discover around week 3, is a structural removal of your identity. Back home, you were a person with a job title, a reason to leave the house at a specific time, a metric by which you could be measured. Here, you have none of those things. Here, you are a dependent, a +1, an appendage to someone else's story, who ended up in the protagonist slot by following someone through an airport gate. The days are completely yours, all of them, every hour unscheduled. And complete freedom without purpose or anyone who needs you anywhere turns out to feel nothing like freedom. It feels like being loudly ignored by a city that isn't even trying to see you. Your partner comes home at 8 p.m. the first week, then 9, then 9:30, carrying the specific exhaustion of someone performing competence in a second language all day with nothing remaining. You have been home since 2. You cleaned the apartment twice, you cooked dinner and kept it warm, and ate your half already because the hunger didn't wait. And now you sit on the floor with wine, watching them eat reheated rice with the expression of a person who has survived something. They tell you about the office, colleagues who are kind in a formal, evaluating way, meetings conducted partly in Japanese, where they nod and reconstruct the untranslated portions later with a dictionary. They are building something. You can see it in the particular exhaustion of a person spending themselves on something that is growing. You listen, you ask questions, you are present and supportive because that is what you came here for. But underneath the listening is something you don't say, which is that you also had a day, 12 hours. It contained a grocery store, a park, and 45 minutes of a Japanese app that rated your pronunciation of the word for excuse me at 64% accurate. You don't say this. It sounds small next to their day. Everything about your day sounds small next to their day. You file it away. You refill their glass. The unsaid thing sits at the table between you and eats quietly and stays and grows a little larger every evening that you choose not to name it. You enroll in a Japanese class at the Ward Office Community Center, Tuesday and Thursday mornings, 10 a.m. 12 people. A retired German engineer who approaches grammar like a technical manual and gets everything right the first time with a mechanical pencil. 2 Brazilian women married to Japanese men who laugh at their own mistakes in a way that makes the room warmer than the heater does. A Filipino man named Rolando who works night shifts at a warehouse and sleeps through the first 20 minutes of every class without explanation. And you learn hiragana, then katakana, how to introduce yourself, how to ask where the station is, how to apologize in 3 registers for 3 levels of offense. Because Japanese has dedicated vocabulary for the gradations of your inadequacy. The teacher is Yamashita Sensei. She corrects your pronunciation with a patience that should be licensed as medical treatment. She never shows frustration. She repeats the word until your mouth finds the right shape. You make the same mistakes twice. But Tuesday and Thursday mornings, you are in a room with a reason to be there, with people who see you show up. And that turns out to matter considerably more than you expected it to. You walk home through the park where the pigeon man is completing his 8:15 ritual. And you think, this is fine. This is actually fine. Something small is being built. It is yours and no one else's. And that distinction, you are learning, is the only one that matters here. The first real fight happens on a Sunday in month 2. Not about anything specific, about everything accumulated without being named. You planned Shimokitazawa, the neighborhood with vintage shops and slow afternoons, the kind of day you promised yourself Tokyo would eventually contain. Your partner checks their phone at 10 a.m., a situation at work, a deadline moved, a few hours. You say okay, you walk to the park, you come back. A few hours becomes the afternoon. You make dinner. They emerge at 7 with the look that means the work is paused, not finished. You eat quietly. Then you say it, not loudly. Something like, I feel like I'm waiting for my own life to start. They look at you with something close to depletion and say, I'm doing this for us. 2 sentences, both true, completely incompatible. You are waiting. They are building. Both things occupy the same apartment and speak different languages that happen to use identical words. The fight goes the way first fights in new cities go, circular, unresolved. You both sleep without finishing it, because finishing it requires saying something that can't be unsaid, and neither of you is ready for that wait yet. The unfinished fight moves in like a third resident, takes the corner of the room. In the morning, you both pretend it left in the night. You will keep pretending this for several more months. The fight does not leave, it just learns to be quieter. Month 4, your partner has work friends. A woman named Miho, who sends voice messages at midnight. A Canadian named Dan, who organizes Friday drinks in Shinjuku. You hear about these people regularly. You know their names, their tendencies, the dynamics of the group chat. You know them the way you know characters in a show someone else watches in the next room. Sometimes you're invited to Friday drinks. You go twice. You sit at the end of the table, follow 3 conversations, contribute where you can, laugh at the right moments. You leave at 10 because there's a point past which you are no longer a participant and have become an observer, and you know precisely which one you've become. Your partner stays until midnight. They come home bright, still inside the evening, still talking about something Miho said. You are already on the other side, in the apartment with the lights low, halfway through a book you've been reading for 6 weeks because concentration now requires more maintenance than before. You don't say you're lonely. You said it once. It became a fight that didn't finish. Instead, you say, sounds like a good night, and you mean it, and you don't mean it. And both things are true simultaneously. You are becoming practiced at holding 2 truths at once without letting them make contact. This is not a skill you intended to develop. Like eating alone, it arrived quietly and decided to stay. Month 6. You find a volunteer position at an English conversation cafe near the station. 3 afternoons a week, you sit across from Japanese adults practicing English, and you have real conversations, actual back and forth. They ask about where you're from, you ask about their lives, and for 2 hours, 3 times a week, you are a person other people find useful. You do not underestimate what this does for you. It is close to everything. Walking home from the cafe one Thursday, you realize you have gone 6 days without feeling invisible. You buy a small cactus from a flower stand near the station. You put it on the windowsill. You take a photo, and don't post it anywhere, because explaining why a cactus matters would require explaining everything else. The work permit application is moving. HR is helpful and slow. Paperwork advances one sheet at a time. You wait with the practiced patience of someone who has learned that waiting is simply time you can use elsewhere. You start a notebook, not for any declared purpose, just to record what the days contain, so they contain something worth recording. The ramen place where you finally worked the ticket machine correctly, and the cook nodded without expression, which in Tokyo is a form of welcome. Yamashita-sensei saying your Japanese has improved. Small entries, small evidence. The margins of someone else's story are becoming more real than the story itself, and you are the only one doing the building. The work permit comes through in month 8. Part-time first, 28 hours weekly maximum, the standard cap for non-specialist foreign workers. You take a position at an international school. Administrative support. Not your field, not your level, but yours. You earn 120,000 yen a month. After the train pass and lunch, roughly $600. You contribute to the rent for the first time. You hand your partner an envelope with your share in cash because the bank transfer took 3 weeks to configure, and you needed to do this now, this month, because the envelope means something that a digital transaction doesn't. Your partner says you didn't have to. You say you know. Neither of you names what the envelope actually represents. Not money, proof of presence, of being here on your own terms for the first time since the plane landed 8 months ago. You go to dinner to Market, a small place in Nakameguro that someone from your Japanese class recommended. The canal is lit at night. The cherry trees that won't bloom for 4 more months are already beautiful in a skeletal way. The way things are beautiful when you know exactly what they are about to become. Your partner holds your hand across the table. You think this is working. Something real is here, and it is lasting. You will remember believing this later, not with nostalgia, with the specific grief reserved for someone who is entirely right about a moment and entirely wrong about what was waiting just beyond it. The change arrives without announcement. That is how the important changes always arrive. Not a slamming door, a door becoming a wall, so gradually you don't notice until you reach for the handle and find it sealed. Month 10. Your partner is promoted. New responsibilities, a team, hours that expand past the ones already long. You cook a celebration dinner. You're proud and mean it. But the promotion takes whatever remained of the shared evenings and reallocates it elsewhere. Home by 10 on good nights. Some nights, they sleep on the office cot because the last train left and the work didn't. You understand this. Japan operates this way. The office culture is a culture of total commitment, and your partner is inside it now, absorbed, learning its rhythms, and the particular belonging that comes from giving your best hours to the same walls as the people beside you. They found their version of Yamashita-sensei's classroom. You recognize this because you built the same thing, smaller and slower. That is not the problem. The problem is their room is one you cannot enter. As the months pass, you stop expecting an invitation. You stop keeping Miho and Dan's names with the same care. Not from bitterness, from the same self-preservation that taught you to eat alone and hold 2 truths without letting them touch. The distance between you has no single author. That is what makes it impossible to argue with. Month 13. A Sunday with nowhere to be. You make coffee. Your partner sits across from you. The cactus is on the windowsill. Outside, the canal does what it does in January. Gray and patient and entirely indifferent to what happens inside the apartments along its banks. You have the conversation, not the circular, unfinished one you've been having for months, the real one underneath it. You say, I came here for you, and I'm glad I did, and I built something here that belongs to me, but I don't think I built it with you. I think I built it next to you. Same city, same apartment, dinner across from each other on the nights we were both home, but not together the way we were before the plane. Your partner doesn't argue. That is how you know it is true. When people argue, it means they believe another version is still possible. They don't argue. They look at you, and you take a moment to name the expression correctly. It is relief, not happiness. The specific release of someone who has carried a truth for a long time and has just been given permission to set it down. You sit with it, coffee going cold. The cactus doing what cacti do, which is survive on very little and ask for nothing and stay exactly where you placed them. You both cry. Not dramatically, quietly, with full understanding, in a kitchen that was always too small for 2 people, but somehow held both of you for over a year. You stay in Tokyo. That is what surprises everyone back home who expected you to say you're coming back. Your partner leaves first. The job continues. The apartment doesn't. You find a smaller place in Koenji. 1 room, a kitchen that is technically a hallway with a burner. 65,000 yen. You put the cactus on the windowsill. You keep going to the conversation cafe. You keep taking Japanese classes. You find a full-time position at a translation company. The salary is not generous. The work is not extraordinary. But the contract has your name on it, and the apartment has your name on it. And the knowledge of how to live in this city belongs entirely to you. Yamashita-sensei says your Japanese is ready for the intermediate class. The pigeon man nods when you pass. The ramen cook stopped the tourist markup around month 9. These are how Tokyo tells you that you belong. Not warmly, not with ceremony, with a nod, a regular price, a quiet acknowledgement that you've been here long enough to be expected. You think about the person you followed here sometimes, not with bitterness, with the complicated tenderness you feel for someone who was the reason for something that turned out to be entirely for you. The ticket was theirs. The decision was theirs. But the city became yours. Built without a plan, without a safety net, without the person who was supposed to be the point. And Tokyo, which owed you nothing and promised you less, let you stay. Because in a city of 14 million people, there is always room for one more person who arrived for the wrong reason and quietly found a right one.